Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Al-Fadhala Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam Al-Fatiha. Ar-Rahman-Ar-Rahim Maliki yawmiddin Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in ihdinas siratal mustaqim siratal ladzina an'amta 'alaihim ghairil maghdubi 'alaihim waladdallin. Amin. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Nawaitu ta'alluma wa ta'lim wa tadhakkur wa tadhkir wa an-nafa' wal intifa' wal ifadah wal istifadah wal hatta ala tamassaki bi kitabillahi wa sunnati rasulih والدعاء إلى الهدى والدلالة على الخير ابتغاء وجه الله ومرضاته وقربه وثوابه آمين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد. We have arrived with our kitab Risalatul Jami'ah by Habib Ahmad bin Zain al-Habshi. We have arrived at the vices of the whole body. This is the last part of the book. Is the ending, and after that he will in the book it's mentioned the dua kunut, the kunut of Asy-Syafi'iyah. So anyway, for this part we will read the matan. Ma'asil badan wal ma'siyatu bi kulli badan kal ugugi lil walidaini wal firari min al-zahbi wa huwa min al-kaba'ir wa ghairi ma dhukira min al-muharramat mithlu qati'atil rahim wa zulmin nas. So the translation, this include unruliness towards one's parents and fleeing from the battle lines. These are considered to be from the major sins. Other things which may be mentioned besides those already mentioned include cutting of family ties and abusing other people's rights. So this is the vices of the whole body. So Abdul Ahmad mentioned a few, which is we'll break it down. So the first is this include unruliness towards one's parents. Okay, for this part, there are a lot of things to be mentioned. We will mention some in the Quran. Allah says, وَقَضَى رَبُّكَ أَلَّا تَعْبُدُوا إِلَّا إِيَّاهُ وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا إِمَّا يَبْلُغَنَّ عِندَكَ الْكِبَرَ أَحَدُهُمَا أَوْ كِلَاهُمَا وَلَا تَقُل لَّهُمَا أُفٍّ وَلَا تَنْهَرْهُمَا وَقُل لَّهُمَا قَوْلًا كَرِيمًا. Your Lord has decreed, do not worship any but Him. Be good to your parents, and should both or any one of them attain old age with you, do not say to them even uff, neither chide them, but speak to them with kindness. So in this ayat, it is mentioned that Allah asked us to be kind to our parents. وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا. Ihsana means to be kind. That means anything that could result to the unhappiness, we should avoid. Anything at all. So, of course, it's very hard to really take care of this, but we should strive to do the best that we can. And Allah says that do not say to them even uff. So the word uff here is like to say like or ah. So if if uff is not allowed, what moreover, or what is anything worse than that is also not allowed. So that's considered ugugul walidain. What is that? Unruliness towards parents. So instead we should speak to them with kindness. So even if we are unhappy with them, we should speak to them with kindness and try to like talk to them. If there's any dispute, we should talk to them nicely, not to um, not to create any unhappiness. And in another ayat in the Quran, Allah says, وَإِنْ جَاهَدَاكَ عَلَىٰ أَنْ تُشْرِكَ بِمَا لَيْسَ لَكَ بِهِ عِلْمٌ فَلَا تُطِعْهُمَا وَلَا صَاحِبْهُمَا فِي الدُّنْيَا مَعْرُوفًا وَاتَّبِعْ سَبِيلَ مَنْ أَنَابَ إِلَيَّ ثُمَّ إِلَيَّ مَرْجِعُكُمْ وَأُنَبِّئُكُمْ بِمَا كُنْتُمْ تَعْمَلُونَ. But if they endeavor to make you associate with me that of which you have no knowledge, do not obey them, but accompany them in this work with kindness and follow the way of those who turn back to me in repentance. Then to me will be your return, and I will inform you about what you used to do. So in the first part that Allah says, "When jahadaka ala an tushrika bima laysa laka bihi ilmun fala tuti'huma wa sahibhuma fid dunya ma'rufa." So he says that Allah says that if they ask us to do, if our jahadaka, that means if our parents ask us to do, to ask us to associate him with others, that means and tushrik billah, and tushrika billah, and tushrika bima laysa laka bihi ilmun. Do not follow them. That means if they ask us to do something bad or to shirk, to worship other than Allah, or to have associate Allah with others, then do not follow them. But then, even if we don't follow them, we do not obey them in that sense, but accompany them in this world with kindness. But we still have to speak with them kindly and to respect them and to treat them nicely, to treat them with kindness. Yeah. So it doesn't mean that if they ask us to do something bad, we should follow. We shouldn't follow. Anything against Sharia, we shouldn't follow. But we have to use our hikmah, use our brains how to tell them nicely and to avoid any problems with them. So maybe just keep quiet or just make them happy, but then do not do anything that is against the Sharia, and especially in shirk, to associate Allah with something else, any other things. So, and then in the hadith, a righteous child does not enter hell, and a disobedient son does not enter paradise. So that says it all, that like a righteous child will not enter hell. So no matter, so this is not that means you can do whatever you want, but you still enter heaven just because you respect your parents. But it's a good like reminder that how much the Sharia put the weightage of kindness to parents and respecting parents, how high it is. Until that, in the hadith it said that a righteous child does not enter hell, and a disobedient son does not enter paradise. So even if how good the child is, but he do not respect his parents, then there's no point. And in another hadith, hadith Qudsi, there is a hadith Qudsi saying that if you go out on that day seeking Allah's rida, but then you don't respect your parents, then Allah will not rida with you. But if the opposite happen, like if you go out on that day respecting your parents, but you did something wrong to Allah, then Allah will still rida with you. So that hadith Qudsi again shows that the status of respecting parents in the Sharia is very high, and we should respect our parents in whatever in any circumstances. And there is also another hadith, doing good to parents is better than Umrah and Hajj, and also going to jihad. So all these hadith and the verses from the Quran shows that the importance of respecting parents and being kind to them is very but it's really high. It's a really high status in the Sharia, and we shouldn't put that aside. Okay, and the next one, Ahmed mentioned, and fleeing from the battle lines. Yeah. Fleeing from the battle lines is also considered a sin, but in the Quran, Allah says, "Ya ayyuhalladzina amanu idza laqitumul ladzina kafaru zahfan fala tuwalluhumul adbar wa man yuwallihim yawma idzin duburahu illa mutaharrifan liqitalin aw mutahayyizan ila fi'atin faqad ba'a bighadabin min Allahi wa ma'wahu jahannam wa bi'sal masir." So the translation is, O you who have believed, when you meet those who believe advancing for battle, do not turn to them your backs in flight. And whoever turns his back to them on such a day, unless swerving as a strategy for war or joining another company, has certainly returned with anger upon him from Allah. And his refuge is hell, and wretched is the destination. Surah Al-Anfal. So scholars have different opinions whether this ayah refers to Battle of Badr or specifically for Battle of Badr specifically, or for all battles even after Badr. So majority of the scholars and the stronger opinion is that it refers to all battles. So that means once you are in the battle line, not before the start of the war. Once the war have started and you are in the battle line, in the battle lines, that means you are fighting the enemy, then you cannot turn back. You cannot turn back in whatever circumstance. You cannot retract from your battle line, unless there are a few cases where you can return, or you can abandon, not say abandon, you can flee to flee as a strategy. Okay, so Ibn Abbas said that it is still permissible to flee if the enemy numbers is more than double, that is like 1:3. But if it's 1:2, then he cannot flee. This is Ibn Abbas' position. But some ulama say even if they are 1:3, you still cannot flee. That means once you are in the battle lines fighting the enemy, you cannot turn back. You must have faith in Allah and just fight on, because there's no loss. You will either die as a martyr or you will win the battle for Islam. So there's no loss. But according to Ibn Abbas, you can, if the numbers, the enemy numbers is more than double. Like let's say the Muslim army is 1,000, then the enemy is 3,000. Then in this case, you can flee. But if you are on, because last time the fight is 1-on-1, or 1:3. Not now we use bombs and all, whatever it is. But according to Ibn Abbas, there was a commandment that one man must not turn away in flight if he was facing 10 enemies soldiers. And then this was then reduced by the Quranic verses. Allah has lightened the hardship for you, and he knows that among you is weakness. So it was lightened, and it came down to you are now commanded that 100 may not flee from 200 unbelievers. So 100 to 200, that means not more than 2. 1:2. So if you are one man, if one man runs away from 2 enemy soldiers, then he's considered a deserter. If he flees when he faces 3, then he's not considered a deserter. But desertion here refers to turning away in flight, as mentioned in the Quranic version, in the Quranic verse. So the verse makes it compulsory for a Muslim soldier to fight when he faces 2 unbelievers. But if he faces more than 2, then it is permissible for a single soldier to try to join another Muslim troop or company, or Muslim contingent or troop or platoon or whatever they call. So they can flee and join the other Muslim contingent that may give him support. But if he flee to join a troop that won't support him, he knows this troop won't support him, then he cannot do that. He is under the threat mentioned in the Quran verse, and whoever turns his back to them on such a day is a deserter. Okay, so the summary is like you cannot flee from battle lines unless you have more than 1:3 enemy. 1 man is to 3 enemy. If 1 man is to 2 enemy, you cannot flee. But some opinions say doesn't matter how many enemies you have, you still cannot flee. But when you are allowed to flee, according to Ibn Abbas also, if you are allowed to flee, like in the case of 1:3 enemy, 1 man to 3 enemy, you can flee, but for a strategy or to join another company of Muslim soldiers that will give you support. If you are joining another contingent or company of Muslim soldiers that won't give you support, then you cannot do that. You are considered a deserter. Okay, so these are considered to be the major sins. These are considered to be major sins. That is unruliness towards one parent and fleeing from battle lines. So there are various opinions. Among the scholars on whether a sin is major or minor. So one of the best definition is that given by Al-Qurtubi in Al-Mufhim. Every sin concerning which a text of the Quran or Sunnah or scholarly consensus states that it is a major sin or a grave sin, or mention a severe punishment for it, or decreed a hard punishment for it, or denounce it in the strongest term, this is a major sin. Because sometimes we don't know whether, okay, this one major sin or minor sin. Like killing, is it a major sin or minor sin? Because it's a major sin. Like covering aurat, is it major sin or minor sin? It is a minor sin. But how do we know all this? So some ulama say, you see whether there is had. But then this is not really accurate, because like let's say unruliness towards one parent. This is a major sin, but then there's no had. There's no had. If you you act unruliness towards your parents, it is a major sin, but there's no hard punishment. But it's still a major sin. So the more accurate one is this definition by Al-Qurtubi in Al-Mufhim. Every sin concerning which the text of Quran or Sunnah or scholarly consensus states that it is a major sin or a grave sin, or mention a severe punishment for it, like in the case of unruliness towards one parent, Ugugul Walidain, there are a lot of hadith mentioning the igab of the punishment of the unruliness towards one parent. And in the Quran, there are many stern warnings to be kind to your parents, and not even say oof to your parents. So that is considered a stern warning. is like really emphasized. So this is considered major sin. But those which are not mentioned in a stern way, but and there's no heart, and there are like no what is that? What is that? It's like no, not mentioned in the strongest term in the Quran or the Hadith, then it's not considered a major sin. Wallahu alam. So sins can also change from minor to major and major to fahisha. They call it fahisha. It's like it's a worst. It's the worst sin. It's considered shameful and abhorrent, depending on the situation. Like minor to major can be like let's say covering aurat. If you're covering aurat, not covering aurat, it can be minor sin, just not covering any aurat. But going nude in public, in a, like let's say a public beach, what is that? A nude beach, then it could lead to a major sin, because you are, as a Muslim, like people know you are a scholar, and you go nude on the beach. Then that could be a major sin, because you are tarnishing the name of Islam. And same thing if for a major sin to a fahisha, a worst sin, the shameful and abhorrent sin, is like but a good example is like maybe zina. Zina is a major sin, but zina with jiran, zina with your neighbor is a fahisha, because it's mentioned in the hadith. The worst of the zina is having zina with the neighbor. So you can also put that as like somebody close to you. So these are the things to be take note of. And the next thing is other things which may be mentioned besides those already mentioned include cutting of family ties. So in cutting of family ties is considered the vice of the whole body as well, because cutting of family ties is like Qati'ur Rahim. Qati'ur Rahim is family or relatives or friends, even far away relatives of or acquaintance. So we shouldn't cut ties. We should always save the relationship to be good to others, especially the closer ones to us, like our family and our relatives. The closer, the more the closer the person to us is, we should the more we should preserve the relationship and the ties. So in a hadith, in the Quran, it's mentioned, Allah mentioned, فَهَلْ عَسَيْتُمْ إِن تَوَلَّيْتُمْ أَن تُفْسِدُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ وَتُقَطِّعُوا أَرْحَامَكُمْ أُولَٰئِكَ الَّذِينَ لَعَنَهُمُ اللَّهُ وَأَصَمَّهُمْ وَأَعْمَى أَبْصَارَهُم. So would you perhaps, if you turn away, cause corruption on earth and sever your ties of relationships? Those are those whom God has cursed. So he made them deaf and blinded their sight, blinded their vision. So in this ayat, Allah has mentioned that to cut ties is a sin, is something that Allah cursed. So this is considered a major sin, because there's a stern warning. And in hadith, la yadkhulul jannah qati', will not enter paradise those who cut ties. Qati' means cut ties. So will not enter paradise those who cut ties. This is a Sahih Hadith from Muslim and Bukhari. So the closer the tie is, the bigger the sin to cut the tie. Yeah? The bigger the sin if the tie is closer. So the closest is we should the closest will be our mother. That's the top, because in a hadith, Allah Sahabat, the companions ask, who should we respect most? Then Rasulullah SAW says, your mother. Then he asks, next, your mother. Next, your mother. Then your father. Then the garaba, the relatives, our closer relatives. So we go to that sequence is your mother, then your father, then your siblings, then your siblings and your uncles and whatever, your close families, then your other far away families, cousin, second cousin, third cousin, and all this, and then friends and all, and neighbors. Neighbors is considered quite close. So there's some. So we should not cut ties. And the problem is sometimes when there's an argument, so both due to our ego, we don't want to give in. We don't want to give in, and we do not want to apologize. We do not want to apologize because we feel that we are in the right. Nobody will think that they are in the wrong. We will not see our wrongness, our wrongful act. So we will think that we are always in the right. But if you see that you know that you are in the wrong and you don't apologize, then that's worse. You should apologize. But even to preserve the ties, you should you should apologize even if you think that you are in the right position. Because there's a hadith mentioning that if you apologize and you know that you did nothing wrong, you know you are in the right, but you still apologize to save the ties. Doesn't matter whether that person accept or not. You just try. You just apologize. Then this person will be given a house in Jannah in the hereafter, just because he did that. So there's no loss. Apologizing, there's no loss. Nothing will be lost. It doesn't take away your money, doesn't take away your time, doesn't take away your honor. In fact, it will raise your status as an honorable person. And then the next is abusing other people's rights. Yeah. Wa'an Abi Hurairah in the hadith, abusing other people's rights is considered a vice also. Yeah. In the hadith, an Abi Hurairah and from Sahih Bukhari, the Prophet ﷺ said, he who has done a wrong affecting his brother's honor or anything else, let him ask his forgiveness today, before the time. That is the day of resurrection, the day of judgment, when he will have neither a dinar nor a dirham. If he has done some good deeds, a portion equal to his wrongs doing will be subtracted from them. But if he has no good deeds, he will be burdened with the evil deeds of the one he had wrong in the same proportion. So the Prophet ﷺ is saying that he who has done a wrongful act towards his brother, in any sense, affecting his honor or anything else, let him ask for forgiveness today, now, before he die, before that person die, before he die, before the day of resurrection, when he will have neither a dinar or dirham. That means on the day of the resurrection, we all will not have anything. We don't bring with us any money to compensate the person we did wrong to. So what we have is our amal, deeds. But if he have good deeds, then we didn't apologize and we did wrong to that person. Our good deeds will be taken and compensated to that person. But if we don't have good deed, then his bad deed will be transferred to us. So there's another hadith where Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam asked, do you know who's a bankrupt? So the Sahabat said, who is a bankrupt? He said, these are the person who will be the bankrupts. That means his good deeds will be finished, depleted, because he didn't apologize to others. So on the day of judgment, all his good deeds will be taken. Okay, for this person A, he did something wrong. His good deeds give to A. His good deeds give to B, C, D, E, F, G, and until his good deeds are depleted, then he got 0 good deeds to be given due to his wrongful acts. So now the other people's bad deeds will be transferred to him because he cannot compensate them. So now he will be bankrupt, no good deeds, and in fact will get bad deeds because he did not ask for forgiveness to the people he have wronged. And another hadith, it was narrated on the authority of Uwais al-Qarni. He said, I passed by a monk during some of my travels, and I said, O monk, what is the first rank that a disciple can ascend to? He said, refuting grievances and lessening your liabilities. For a servant does not ascend to his work, that is his deeds, if he has liabilities and grievances. So, Uwais al-Qarni, this is narrated by the authority of Uwais al-Qarni. It's not a hadith, his speech. Allah Alam, it's attributed to him. So he asked the monk in one of his travels, he said, what is the first rank that a disciple can ascend to? And the monk said, refuting grievances and lessening your liabilities. Because once you have liabilities and grievances, disputes, you cannot ascend. Even if your deeds are a lot. If your amal is good, but you cannot ascend because you have many wrongful acts towards others. So the first thing you should do to ascend is to actually lessening your liabilities. That means you don't do anything bad to others. If you did, then you ask for forgiveness. If they don't want to forgive you, then at least you have tried. So that is up to Allah. So up to Allah to judge who is in the wrong. But we always take that we should just apologize to clear our part. Yes, we make sure that we don't have any liabilities towards others, and we shouldn't have any grievances. So that is the first step. Then we can ascend. Then only we can ascend. Yeah. Okay. Until here, I think that the book ends here. So, Wallahul muwaffiq wal mu'in lima yuhibbu wa yarda wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. So the book, Habib Ahmad bin Zain ends the book with the salawat. So maybe we can go through a bit on the salawat and the kunut. There's a kunut in the book, kunut of the Madhab Shafi'i. We read this kunut in Subuh, in Fajr prayer and other places. So you can go through that, inshallah, next week. Wallahu a'lam. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Rabbana anfa'na bima 'allamtana rabbi 'allimna alladhi yanfa'una rabbi faqihna wa faqih ahlana wa qarabatina lana fi dinina ma'a al-qudri wa أهل القدر أنت وذكر. ربي وفقنا ووفقهم لما ترتضي قولا وفعلا كرما وارزق الكل حللا دائما وأخلا أدقي علما نحظى بالخير ونقبل كل شر. ربنا أصلح لنا كل شؤون وأجر بالرضا منك العيون. واقضي عنا ربنا كل دين قبل أن تأتينا رسل المنون. واغفر واستر أنت أكرم من ستر. وصلاة الله تغشى مصطفى من إلى الحق دعانا والوفاء بكتاب يشفيه للناس شفاء. وعلى الآل الإكرام الشرفاء وعلى صحبه وصحبه الغرار. اللهم اهدنا بهداك واجعلنا ممن يسارع في رضاك ولا تولنا وليا سواك ولا تجعلنا ممن خلف أمرك وعصاك. وحسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العظيم. صلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله وصحبه وسلم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.